24/7 continuing coverage of a tragedy in the skies, the collision of that military Black Hawk helicopter and an American Airlines plane carrying dozens who are now presumed dead in the icy waters of the Potomac. And that is what you're looking at right now. This was a rescue mission, and then overnight it turned into a recovery mission. And it's definitely a tragedy out there and so many things to unpack. But let's not forget, everybody being pulled out of that water is somebody's somebody. So to that point, at least 28 bodies pulled from that water after this tragedy that was caught on camera. Look at this. The National Transportation Safety Board, also known as the NTSB, says that they will be looking at this and other pieces of video to investigate what led to that deadly crash. So to help us understand what that process looks like in the days and weeks ahead, and it's going to be a long game here, let's bring in former NTSB Vice Chairman Bruce Landsberg over the phone. So Bruce, the NTSB launched a GO team to that crash site. What's a GO team and what do they look for?
The GO team is a group consisting of a board member, a investigator in charge, and then depending on the nature of the crash and which mode of transportation will involve technical people, engineers, in this case, air traffic control specialists, human factor specialists, system specialists, recorder people, and perhaps most importantly, our transportation disaster assistance team, which is there to assist the families and make sure that they get what they need in the process, because this is obviously a very difficult time for them.
Yes.
And the team is staffed 24/7, and board members take 1 week on to be available wherever, whenever, in order to go.
I want to get your reaction to the President of the United States briefly expressing condolences to the victims, but very quickly trying to pin any failure that this may have been on the prior administration and the policies and the staffing of the prior administration. Any reaction to any of what the President had to say there?
I think it's a bit early to be making any determinations in this particular case. And I would point out any of my comments here are preliminary, and we can't really begin to talk about what happened until we've completed the investigation. I think perhaps the President and some of his administration are getting a little ahead of where we are. NTSB will do a very thorough and apolitical evaluation of the system, and our role is not to place blame, but to figure out what happened, why it happened, and how it can be prevented. And then there are various parties to the investigation, which in this case will include the FAA, Department of the Army, possibly the Department of Defense, the aircraft manufacturers. And so everybody will play a role. NTSB will lead the investigation, and we'll be looking very carefully at the personnel, what they did, how they performed, and then we'll come to an unbiased determination of, what, if anything, what mistakes were made, and then what we can do to correct them in the future.
Everything is evidence, no? Whether it's in the water or washes up there on the banks of the river. What happens to that evidence once it's painstakingly pulled out of the water or off of the riverbanks, as it were? What happens to that evidence as you do your investigation?
Great question, Reed. So the first thing is that they will gather the perishable evidence, which is obviously the items in the water or that happen to wash up. You mentioned earlier about the video evidence by various cameras, and in their contacts with people, they will ask anybody who had a cell phone camera or anything as an eyewitness to please contact them so that they can gather as much information as possible. They'll retrieve the wreckage, and it will be moved to a secure location where they'll then have a chance to go through it and make sure everything is accounted for, and they're able to determine exactly how the aircraft impacted. One thing that is of particular interest will be the orange boxes. I know people like to refer to them as black, but none of them are black. They are all orange, which will be the flight data recorder and the cockpit voice recorder, and our people will very carefully go through and analyze that. of the airliner. I don't know what kind of recording devices the Black Hawk had on it, but if it has any recording devices, that will be brought into play as well.
So knowing that already from the jump, given that first news conference with the President of the United States, the Vice President of the United States, Pete Hegseth, and others, is now becoming political, how important is it that this investigation stay apolitical? And what are the protections so that the evidence that comes from those orange boxes, not black boxes, is protected and isn't political?
Well, by statute, the NTSB is organized and set up to conduct an absolutely politically neutral investigation. Again, our interest is not to blame administration officials or anything of that nature. We're looking at this from a purely technical and engineering and operational standpoint. And myself as an active pilot, I understand that. Obviously, other people have different agendas, but NTSB's is very straightforward, and it was one of the reasons I agreed to take the job, is that, we don't get into the personalities aspect of this. We're going to deal with the facts.
Bruce Landsberg, former NTSB Vice Chairman, thank you so much for being with us on CBS News 24/7.